Well, employee discipline should be progressive. No? Progressive in such a manner that there should be discussion. You cannot just depend on what is being submitted to you or what has been submitted to you in terms of allegation, in terms of justification. It should not stop there. It should be, it should be a discussion. Even before at the level wherein you're going to call somebody for discipline in written, or in writing, it has to be done verbally. You need to pull the person on the side and have a discussion.
Welcome again for another episode of HR Shouts and Whispers. Siyempre, episode 95 na tayo. And ang topic natin tonight is employee discipline process. Siyempre, my name is Ken Somera and the main host natin, Cristina Reclamado. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Ken. Okay. And to everyone, it's a Saturday once again. So we went double duty this week. Okay. We had one last Tuesday with our good friend from the Dream Project. And then we have, another serious episode on employee discipline. And we are starting with, the last time that we had it, I presented it. We went with the overview, and now because of a lot of questions we were not able to go through the process, but this evening we have another take on employee discipline with our good friend Oliver Requilman. Hi Oliver, we missed
Hi,
you.
hi. Yeah, I miss you guys. Yeah, I miss you guys. Nice to be back.
Yeah, so Ken, and I'll just have this fun fact about Oliver. Oliver started teaching in a university. Okay, so he's now teaching HR. So this time it's about people are, I think it's graduation time. Is that correct, Oliver?
In the graduate school, it is, because in the graduate school, it's every semester.
I see.
Depends, yeah. But the graduation program itself only happened once. But then you can actually complete all your academic requirements depending on the semester that you have completed it.
Oh, okay. So that's
Mhm.
great to hear. So at least the graduate studies program was not impeded by the pandemic.
No, you'll be surprised because I thought that. Well, by the way, I'm teaching in FPU, no. So I thought in Far Eastern University they just started the Canvas, using Canvas online when pandemic came, just to find out that they've been using that. I mean, they've been using that for the longest time, like about 3 years ago.
Oh, so that's good to hear. And a special shout out to, of course, your students from the Far Eastern University. Yon.
Yeah, most of them are now in China.
Oh, I
Yeah, I
see.
got a, I got a whole block, and they're all in China.
They're Chinese.
They're all Chinese. Yes.
Oh, I see. So that's interesting. So we have a lot of foreigners studying in the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, we're proceeding now. So Oliver, so actually also you are an HR leader, and you've also you've been HR of a renowned hospital. Okay, so we are going to talk about employee discipline. So what is your definition of employee discipline?
Well, employee discipline should be progressive. No? Progressive in such a manner that there should be discussion. You cannot just depend on what is being submitted to you or what has been submitted to you in terms of allegation, in terms of justification. It should not stop there. It should be a discussion. Even before at the level wherein you're going to call somebody for discipline in written, or in writing, it has to be done verbally. You need to pull the person on the side and have a discussion. It's not going to be too costly to spend one milk tea or one coffee at a coffee shop and then have a lengthy discussion about expectations, because for all you know, maybe the lapses are coming from your end and not coming from the end of your subordinates.
While enduring the pandemic,
Why don't you upskill in the comforts of your own home? Improve and add more certificates in your resume. Simple, direct, easy. Visit the playlist in our YouTube channel. Browse through our videos and choose the video that interests you. Send in your requests for a particular video and we will send back the certificate via email. Watch this full video for the details. So there are two actors that are involved in managing employee discipline. So one is the HR, of course, which is actually the one that's the custodian of the policies. But in our talks, okay, with HR Shouts and Whispers members, we've always emphasized that it's a shared responsibility with
It
line
is.
managers. Yes. So here is there was a scenario that I read in one of the fora. Okay, so the driver, his colleagues, mga pahinante, complained to the HR kasi hindi daw tumutulong sa pagbuhat. Oo. Tapos, ito naman si HR nila, kinausap si driver. Dahil sa ginawa mo, pwede kang ma-terminate or ma-suspend. So, yung nagsulat dun sa forum, it was one of the junior HRs kasi lumapit sa kanya yung driver. Hindi na ngayon makatulog, stress na. Kasi kinausap nga ng HR. Walang papel, walang explanation or request for an explanation. Kinausap siya. And according to the narration, sinabihan na pwede kang masuspend dyan o ma-terminate. So, leaving the situation at that, hindi na ngayon makatulog si driver, lumapit siya dun sa junior HR, tapos sinabi nga na si stress siya dahil sa ganon. So, what do you think of that situation?
Well, first and foremost, anybody in HR shouldn't do anything about it. Kasi unang-una sa lahat, it's the immediate supervisor or immediate manager's role to take into action, no? And to take everything into account as to why the driver is not helping and why are the pahinantes complaining. Now, if you're going to look at the job description or the nature of the job, a driver has the right to sleep, by the way, during while on duty. Yes. The only person who is not allowed to sleep is the security guard because it's their job to secure, di ba? So, why take a nap? Kaya nga mga security guards natin, you go everywhere, are not provided with chairs or tables because they're expected to stand and to be active. Now, comparing that also with the driver, you cannot expect the driver to help you. If ever he will help you, it's out of goodwill. So it's the call now of the manager to see to it that to nurture the relationship in order for the driver to have a common sense, to exercise common sense and help out with the team. But to oblige and to force the driver to help with the pahinante, the answer is no. There's already been a couple of Supreme Court ruling, and there's one that overrules everything. A driver was terminated for sleeping on duty. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the driver because as a driver, number one, he doesn't ask for overtime. Second, he has the right to sleep on the job kasi he comes to work early and he leaves work late. And he has the right to rest kasi trabaho niya, driving, di ba, as a driver. And yung pahinante naman, pagka nagda-drive yung driver, hindi naman siya nagkakarga, di ba? Can you imagine a pahinante disembarking tons of while the truck is running? Hindi naman, di ba? The
Nandun
cargo
lang
is
siya.
in place. Oo, nandun lang siya, nakaupo nga siya doon, di ba? Naninigarilyo.
Or natutulog.
Natutulog din. While the driver is in the middle of EDSA, while the driver is busy driving the truck, natutulog lang si pahinante. Pwedeng matulog, sinasabi ko. So, it goes both ways. The HR shouldn't have done that initially to talk immediately to the driver. The first thing that he should have done was actually to talk to the immediate manager about the issue. Pero again, provided that the issue should be discussed in a manner of nourishing the relationships. Coaching. You need to coach
Yes.
the performance, di ba? Not to manage discipline kasi there's nothing to discipline anyway, right?
Wala
Oh,
namang violation pa.
walang violation. Ako nga, kung ako pa nga naging HR noon, ako I encourage everyone to take power naps. O yung mga pahinante, imbis na mag-take ng coffee break at manigarilyo, I would rather propose to have a benches and let the parent take 15-minute break, 15-minute nap.
Kasi ito
So,
yung you have to take into consideration the nature of the job.
correct, correct.
Oo, kasi the job is physical. Okay,
Oh,
so for the driver, long hours of driving.
hmm.
Oh, ikaw mag-drive ka.
Oh, tsaka alam ba nila na sa logistics company, it's very rare, or should I say, it's not a practice to have a truck with air conditioner. Very rare yun. You go to DHL, to UPS, siguro sa kanila kasi mga multinational companies. But if you take a look at the local companies that we have, the truck that they are driving has no air conditioner. And that is very hot inside. O parang ano yan, parang nasa
Oven.
gilagitnaya ka ng traffic, parang oven toaster yan, nasa loob ka ng oven toaster. And you're sitting on an engine. Kasi yung mga design ng mga trucks natin dito is not the kind of cargo trucks that you'd see in the United States, mga long driving. Mga short driving kasi tayo eh. So yung short driving vehicles natin, na utility vehicles, you're sitting on top of the engine actually. So plus the absence of the air conditioner, you can imagine the condition of the driver. Di ba?
Yun nga, the kind of ano kasi the style was parang parang nag-complain lang yung ano yung mga pahinante, but I think that yun nga, when I saw that question, my immediate reply was, where was the supervisor of this
Yes.
pahinante
Oh,
and the driver? Kasi dapat kinausap niya both
yes.
parties, 'di
Oh.
ba? Na magtulungan tayo ng
Mm.
trabaho bago tayo mag-complain sa
Oo.
HR.
Oh, yun nga. Kasi ang magandang ano diyan, ang magandang remedy kaagad diyan is recreation and refreshment. It's good to have that every now and then you need to have a recreation with your team. And as Filipinos, uso sa atin yung tagay-tagay. Even at the height of ECQ nga, nagtatagayan tayo sa kung saan-saan eh. So this is where the having that camaraderie spirit kicks in. What HR should be cautious about is having that fraternizing culture. Yung na magkaiba eh, we need to separate the two. Iba po yung team building spirit and the camaraderie. Iba po yung sa fraternizing culture. Fraternizing kasi ito na yung padrino, ito na yung kumpare, ito na yung ganon-ganon. That is something that should be discouraged. But what should not be discouraged and should be nourished instead is this team spirit and this camaraderie. If you're going to take a look at the structure of the military, successful militaries in the United States, for example, Europe, for example, when they are off duties, when they go outside, they don't call each other sir. They don't call each other lieutenant or by the ranks. They call each other by first names. And even in our society here in the Philippines, if you will take a keen observation on how the military men enjoy the recreation and refreshment, their R&R, when they are outside, they don't call each other by ranks because they're nourishing camaraderie. Let's take out the rank and then let's discuss as friends, as co-workers. Taking out the fraternizing. Doon tayo
Yes.
nagkakamali eh. Kaya ang iniisip agad natin, kunin kong kumpare si boss. Uy, kunin kong ninong sa kasal. Kunin kong ninong sa anak. Kasi ni-expect agad natin, quote and quote, there's now the subliminal expectation that, hey, you back me up next time. If I get into
Yes.
trouble, I'll call you. Subliminal yan ha. Although hindi yan i-deny lahat yan, i-deny ng na can I get you as i-deny niya na, no problem, it's just as co-workers. But deep inside, they feel the pressure that you are going to expect something from them because they're the boss. And ikaw naman, without you saying it, it's actually your expectation from your boss. And you can also deny the same. That, hindi ko naman sinabi, boss, na you will back me up eh. But believe me, when things get rough and things goes ugly, that is the first thing that you will expect from somebody who is in authority that can defend you. Yung kay papasok na agad yung pagiging padrino, ito si anak, si panganay, naghahanap ng trabaho. Pupunta kagad kay kumparing HR yan. Kasi kumpare, o kumpare, yung inaanak mo, gagraduate na, paano ba yan? Syempre, without you saying anything, the expectation now is that you give job even as a third-party employee just to have the experience. So all these things should be taken out from the equation of workplace. Whether you like it or not, business is still business. And you should be taken personal, but personal in the level we're in, signature of your excellence. Ibig sabihin dito, you commit your time to the organization as expected from you. O hindi naman sinasabi ng kumpanya na you have to be loyal with me, with me and with the organization. Magpatiwakal ka. Hindi naman ganun eh. The organization is asking actually for your commitment. So you have to give the commitment to the organization. And that includes managing your discipline. Managing discipline, sorry. And you have to discipline yourself as well. Oh, so, yun. Sorry, medyo napahaba.
Hindi, okay lang. Kasi I like that you mentioned about Padrino because this is how we are, diba? We are very relationship driven. So, yun nga, pag halimbawa, nagbigay ka lang sa performance appraisal, kasi I noticed this, okay, siguro pagka matagal na in a company, matagal na kayo as a team, parang there's a tendency that the lines are blurred na. Okay, so pagdating ng performance appraisal, kasi the kind of employee discipline issue that we are going to tackle now, it's not your usual about attendance and love life, okay, in the office. But this one is a little bit complex because this is something about performance. And actually, yung example na sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, it actually at the onset, it looks like a performance problem, but it's actually not a performance problem because if, as we said, a driver is expected to rest because of the type of work that he does. And he's not also expected to help with with carrying things when they are, taken out of the truck or when they are put in the truck. So about formal job description. Okay, so ito, at the onset, the problem seemed like it was a performance issue, but it was not a performance issue. And second, the second scenario is, yun na nga, HR stepping in with a very drastic measure. That's why we need to also have employee discipline processes in place kasi baka you might even aggravate the problem by stepping in as an HR manager or HR staff. Yun. So anyway, Oliver, I believe you prepared something for us this evening, and for the benefit of our younger HR professionals, I will give you the floor so that we can elaborate more. The digital floor. Okay, so I'll give you the floor, and let's talk about the process in employee discipline.
Okay, let me put up my presentation. Let me share it with all of you. Okay, I hope you can see this now. Can you?
Yeah, kita. Yes.
Okay, kita. Okay, I'll try to put it on presentation mode. It's there.
Yun,
Can you see it?
Perfect.
So dealing with disciplinary issues in the new normal. So we are now in the new normal, right? The old normal has passed away, and now indeed it's no longer new normal. It's now normal. No? We cannot call it new normal. So I guess I was eloquently introduced earlier, and thank you for that, Cristina, for a very warm welcome. So anxiety has caused us so many problems, and COVID has caused us many anxieties, many problems mentally. And that being said, the psychological capacity of everybody has already been challenged. And when I say challenged, it's hindi naman tayo nasiraan ng bait, no? Hindi na pa naman tumabot sa ganon. But the level of anxiety is beyond the anxiety of physical stress. No, it is now at the level of a mental stress, worrying about coming home, worrying about leaving home, and then calculating savings against expenses if ever COVID happens, in all those things. So in the midst of that anxiety, there is something that we need to manage as well in the workplace, and that's discipline. So we all know, I think, that management has a prerogative to exercise it, to discipline, to manage discipline. Now we have the right to lay down company policies, and those policies has something to do also with the management of not only the discipline but also the performance, not only the conduct and all, but everything, the processes of the business. And we have the right to establish working hours, and so this includes shifting, right? I mean, you can work 8 to 5, 9 to 6, 10 to 7. Other than that, I mean, overtime can always be negotiated or can always be declined as well. So the management has been given that management prerogative. So landscape somehow changed because of COVID. No? So like I mentioned earlier, the stress has somehow gone beyond the physical stress. It is now more on the mental and on the psyche of everybody. Unlike years ago, when we talk about employee experience, when we talk about productivity, the focus is on the productivity and engagement. Right now, it's not. The focus that we have now in the business is diagnosis and response. How quick we are going to respond to someone who's been infected of the virus, di ba? And how are we going to tell the family, and how are we going to tell our clients, and then blah blah blah, and then so on. And then even the moments has changed, because before, major moments has been given 5-star priority, and now we're between 2 to 3 stars. Minsan 1 to 3 stars. It depends on the moment, because onboarding now, although we're doing it online, but recently the onboarding has been through email. I'll send you the deck, read it. You have questions. Let's go online. Let's go on Zoom. So experiences now has been different as well, because when we calculate, when we try to measure experiences, we apply now metrics, right? We apply
Mhm.
metrics to calculate for employee experience, and we try to calculate for attrition. Now it's real time. We design it real time. How many have left? Where are they leaving? Where are they going? And then we discuss it immediately as it happens. Before, kasi we wait for the period to finish. We wait for the end month in order for us to establish the average. And the locality has also changed. Before, it used to be global. Now it's local, because one geography will always be different from the other. In the Philippines alone, the ECQ in NCR is different, has a different IITF guidelines when you discuss about ECQ in Cebu, ECQ in Bacolod, and all other places. Functions, HR function now has also changed, because before we were very limited to domain, that every functional group has its own territorial boundaries, and now we became fluid. No, everybody has become their own HR. True, kasi nasa bahay ka eh. Di ba? Nasa bahay ka. Who's your best HR there but yourself? No, so it became the HR function has become a cross-domain function. Now, yeah, in terms of data analysis, it became real time, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to experiences. So it's all about mental health of Filipinos. So usual cases now covering discipline has somehow sorry, what I'm trying to say is that the usual issues covering discipline didn't change somehow over the past 24 months or 18 months, because it always has something to do with compliance to existing policy, performance and productivity, and compliance to deadline and deliverables. Siguro the platform and the mode of delivering those deadlines have changed, but yet the expectation is still the same. Meron pa rin po tayong deadlines, meron pa rin deliverables. It doesn't give us the excuse to delay ourselves. In fact, ngayon mas delikado nga because online na tayo. Your boss, all the bosses, all the managers expects us to work 24/7. Di ba nakakatawa? Misa nga ako mismo pinagsasabihan ko yung in my previous client, the most recent. I had to remind them that it doesn't mean that we are work from home. It doesn't mean that we're going to expect everybody to report 12 hours a day. Hindi yun. It should be clear. And expectation should be clear. The metrics should be clear. Expectation should be clear as well. So 8 to 5, I want to see you at 8 o'clock. I want you to end at 5. If you're going to extend, make it at 5:30. So if you're going to run errands between 8 to 5, I should know, and you should be available on call all the time. And productivity as well, doesn't give us the excuse now to slag off a little bit and to how do you call this, to use even COVID as an excuse for not performing well. So when it comes to workplace discipline, you have to consider two things: so positive discipline approach and progressive discipline. So let's start off with progressive discipline. Progressive discipline is setting the parameters straight. So dito na papasok yung setting the standards, yung KPI mo, and how you're going to deliver those KPIs. What are the indicators that will tell me and that will tell you that you're on the right track, that you will not go off track? Now, maybe siguro ang tanong din doon, pwede ko bang isingit yung positive discipline? Actually, yun ang maganda doon eh. That's the purpose of having a progressive discipline. The very reason why I started off with progressive discipline, because progressive discipline doesn't come in to penalize a person. No, hindi yun. Hindi po yun. Progressive discipline meaning you have to be there on the time when it happens or when the person is doing his work. So hindi po siya dapat na papasok ka lang pagka may omission of offense. Hindi dapat ganoon. Kasi pagdating sa performance natin, when we do performance evaluation, it's actually performance coaching. Di ba? It's a discussion opportunity for you wherein you're going to identify the pain points, and then identify also the sweet points. So you leverage now on the sweet points, discuss it. Those are positive discipline, can be that's a positive discipline. The progressive discipline, this is we're going to identify now the progressive the pain points. Saan ba siya nasasaktan, and then how can we progress from that area? Now mind you, as well, when it comes to performance of duties, you have to identify two things when you assess when you apply progressive discipline and assessing performance. Is it conduct related or capability related? So magkaiba to, di ba? Kasi kung capability related, ibig sabihin kapos yung tao sa competencies required for that skill to be delivered or for that duty to be delivered. Meaning lack of skills, lack of competence, kasi yun ang una, hindi naman siguro siya para doon. And nasagi lang siya doon because we lack manpower, and he was the first person to arrive in the office, so na-assign sa kanya, or the last person to arrive in the office kaya na-assign sa kanya. But the conduct naman is different. No, conduct is in the manner of the how the duty is delivered, and the performance also in the workplace in terms of relationship. Ano ba siya? Magaspang? Yung kagaspangan ba niya is borderline of sexual harassment? Is on the borderline of pagiging bastos, gano'n? Kasi sometimes passion can be mistaken as abrasiveness, di ba? Yung passion, yung overly passionate about something, that people sees you as a magaspang na tao, but actually you're not. You're just being passionate. It's a sweet point. But that sweet point cannot be identified if there is no performance coaching, if there's no discussion. Kaya nga yung performance evaluation shouldn't happen on the year end. It should happen on a monthly basis. Maganda nga yan kung weekly basis. Para kayong mga issues na napapansin natin, tulad ng example kanina, hindi siya tumutulong eh. Hindi siya tumutulong doon sa kasamahan naming pahinante. So si visor ngayon, ilalaglag niya si driver. The manager should come in and tell the visor or the assistant manager that, teka muna, capability, pag-uusapan natin dito. Does he have the capability to perform duties? Meron. Kasi dati siyang pahinante. Okay. Pero sa trabaho naman, pag-uusapan natin, mabuti ba siyang driver? Nakasagasa na ba siya ng ganito, ganun? Hindi naman. Mabuti naman yung pagtatrabaho niya. So therefore, baka medyo conduct, no? Maybe we need to realign the passion from being stand-alone island into being a more team effort or team worker in the department. So dito napapasok yung conduct discipline. So this is where you can apply positive discipline as well. Kasi yung progressive discipline, although the intention of discipline is to correct and not to punish, meron na kasi siyang parang sense of warning. Yung positive discipline before the person makes a mistake. Oh, yun ang nakagandahan doon. So it goes together. It goes together. So when you take into disciplinary action, you need to identify, okay, what was the offense? Di ba? So yun, balik tayo doon kanina, need to identify, need to assess. Is it capability o conduct? Okay, conduct, bastos. Actually, hindi na siya borderline sexual harassment eh. Nag-aharas na talaga siya ng mga female employees. Okay, so offense is present. 'Di ba? Na-identify na natin, offense is present, allegation has been supported and supplemented. O the NTE tayo, notice to explain. The notice to explain now is dependent on the fact that your policy recommends. Pwede kasi 3 to 5 days yan eh. Pwede by the hours, pwede by the days. So has a limitation of 3 days, minimum of 3 days, and has a maximum of 7 days pala, hindi 5 days, 7 days. 7 calendar days. So that includes Saturday and Sunday. So pag minor offense, then siguro maybe 3 days, maybe nga 12 hours lang the following day, the person can already submit his notice to explain. Pero when it comes to offenses, best kasi to have an offense, to document an offense, to apply progressive discipline and document the offense, if it's really a conduct issue. Okay, conduct issue yung talagang matigas na talaga yung ulo. Talagang medyo magaspang na talaga yung pag-uugali. And then on NTE now applies. Then you weigh it around. If it's dismissible. Kung dismissible, then you go to conference. Pag found guilty, then dismiss. Pag hindi naman siya dismissible, pero medyo may semblance of guilt, edi you go to the suspension. Ako nga, I don't go with the maximum suspension right away unless for 2 reasons. Three reasons. Number 1, sexual harassment. Meron talagang direct, para bang ginrope yung babae, inipuan sa boobs, kahit sa tagiliran lang, kahit sa bra lang, that's groping already. So may outright sexual harassment. Second, theft, actual theft, caught red-handed with a hand inside the cookie jar. No, kumbaga dumudukot ka ng cookie, huli-huli ka kaagad. Okay. Third, nanakit ng kapwa o kaya nanakit ng boss sa loob ng kumpanya. When you are inside the premises, kahit nagpaputok ka lang ng baril sa ere, ay talagang offense na yun. Di ba? Nagpaputok ka, hindi naman yung firing range. O kaya, sinuntok mo yung dingding. Oo, nagtatalo kayo ng boss mo, yung dingding sinuntok mo. In a practical sense, you are already hitting your boss. Kasi the fact that you have hit the door, which is part of the management's property, you are in fact hurting the representative of the management. O sinira mo yung pintuan, pero parang sinaktan mo na rin yung boss mo, yung representative ng management. So except for those 3 reasons. Pero kung other than that, everything can be considered as qualified. So qualified theft, qualified ganon, then you need to qualify it. So I don't apply and I do not endorse automatic maximum level of suspension. Bigyan mo siya ng halfway. Bakit ka mo? Kasi pag umabot kayo sa NLRC, umabot kayo sa husgado, ang magbabasa po ng kaso, ang labor arbiter is also a human being, is also a person. Magtatanong yan parati, exercise compassion. Management, did you exercise compassion? Paano pag nakita na yung penalty is excessive, more than the required for the offense? Even if it is written in your code of conduct that you only applied what was the penalty subscribed in the code of conduct and administered it based on the offense, magtatanong pa rin yung labor arbiter, was there compassion? Did you exercise compassion? O kaya pag 30 days suspension, wag mong maximize 30 days, gawin mong 15. Tapos on the next offense, halfway between 15 and 30. Para pag terminate mo na siya, may establish mo na Sir LA, Your Honor, we have exercised compassion twice. Oh, maximum penalty on the first was 30 days, but we gave only 15. The second offense was dismissal, but we gave only 18 days suspension. Then on the third, more than dismissal na po yun. But it's only then we dismiss the employee. So magtatanong kasi, was there an exercise of compassion? So you'll be able to establish that. Now, positive discipline also embodies, empowers everybody. Not only the person in authority is being empowered, but also the person whom you are applying positive discipline to is being empowered, because that good feeling of that person will also trigger to its employees or to its fellow workers. Kaya kung yung pahinante parating naboboljack, na-applyan ng progressive discipline, gaganti at gaganti yun sa kasama niya sa trabaho. Kasi alam niya hindi siya makakaganti sa boss niya. So baka siguro nagkasamaan sila ng loob ng boss niya, na point out ngayon yung driver. Kasi si driver, pag nakikita sila ng boss niya sa labas ng opisina, either binibilhan ng sigarilyo o binibilhan ng kape. No, kasi nagkakaroon nga sila ng para bang mutual respect to each other, but then the pahinante felt disrespected because there was lack of positive discipline. So anyway, I'll go straight to the positive discipline approach. Is harsh and negative punishment may work only for the short term. Like sabi ko kanina, one way or another, the person to whom the progressive discipline is roughly being applied to or administered to will always look for a way to avenge himself. Avenge himself not for the purpose of vengeance, but actually for the purpose of vindication. Ibig sabihin, I need to retrieve my lost reputation back. Kasi napasama ako sa boss ko, dapat mabawi ko yun, di ba? And the only way for me mabawi ko yun is to make somebody else look bad or worse than I was before. So the positive against, by the way, when we talk about discipline, again, as I mentioned earlier, discipline is a punishment, but discipline is a corrective measure, di ba? So, kaya meron tayong progressive and meron tayong positive discipline. So, discipline is not the same as punishment, because punishment inflicts imposition based on the penalty, but a discipline is not. It's a practice of encouragement. It's a practice of getting everybody on the line and on the same direction, having everybody on board to toe the line. So that's discipline. That's how different it is from punishment. Now, when you apply progressive discipline, even positive discipline, there's always the pros and cons. Kasabihan nga nila, you cannot please everyone. It's true, you cannot please everyone. But what makes it right for you to do in terms of pros and cons is your own personal conviction. Na pag uwi mo sa bahay, matutulog ka sa gabi, sa pagpikit pa lang ng mata mo, alam mo na tama yung ginawa mo sa isang araw. At wala kang pagkakamali doon. Kung halimbawa nag-apply ka man ng progressive discipline, you know by heart that what you did was right. You have exhausted compassion. Yun. Diba? You have exhausted compassion through the application of positive discipline. Diba? Kaya mahimbing yung tulog mo. Pagkagising mo ng umaga at magkita kayo ng kasamahan mo sa trabaho, your subordinate, to whom that you have already applied progressive discipline days ago, you're still confident na I'm not towing the line of vindication with you. I'm towing the line of teamwork and team spirit, kasi magkasama tayo sa trabaho di ba? We are in the same business. So always remember that as you exercise progressive discipline and positive discipline, as you identify pros and cons, there is always a positive negative reaction that's going to projecting back to you. But what will give you the peace of mind is the conviction that what you did the day before was right for everybody and was also right for you. So as I'm trying to say earlier in capsule, someone else's liberty ends when someone else's rights begin. So yung right po natin or liberty natin na manigarilyo, ito yun ito yung isa sa mga maninigarilyo ka sa loob ng kumpanya, hindi naman po sinasabi ng company na hindi ka pwedeng manigarilyo. Pwede ka manigarilyo but not inside the company. Okay? Another thing, pali issue, uniforme and haircut. Sir, ayoko mag-uniform kasi hindi ako pogi tingnan. Which happened to me, This happened to me recently. And the other organization where I was, ang sabi sa akin, sir, ang pangit kasi ng uniforme natin, kulay pink. Kulay pink, ayaw yan ng pink. Kasi yung pink naman kasi medyo fuchsia. Para bang pag nasa hallway ka, you're like a sore thumb. No? Especially kapag you attend seminars outside. You're sticking up like a sore thumb kasi pink yung ano mo. Tapos kasama mo mga taga-PMAP o taga-ibang organization. Pangit tingnan. Tama naman, he has a point. But it was agreed on. It was a policy. Policy o ano. So ano bang nararapat? Question, kailangan ba niyang isuot yung uniforme? The answer is yes. Kinakailangan po. The only time that you have the right not to wear the uniform is when you are the one who bought it for you. Kaya nga po, companies are not supposed to allow their employees to buy their own uniform. Kung 5 days work kayo, dapat 5 uniforms yan for 5 days. Dapat 5 sets. Palang walang excuse si employee not to wear the uniform. Okay, haircut naman. Kailangan ba nating sundin ang nakasulat sa policy na haircut? It's against my constitutional right. Kasi nasasabi sa batas, I have the right to express myself. Oo, ano ako, flamboyant. I want a haircut na ganito, ganun. Is it in the policy? Do we allow it? The answer is no. Then therefore, you have to follow the policy. Ganito po kasi yan. Policies are like the policies we have at home. Nasubukan niyo po bang manigarilyo sa harapan ng nanay niyo? Di ba, di sinampal kayo ng nanay niyo? Lalo na siguro pag uminom kayo, nasa harap ng tatay niyo, at ang yabang-yabang mo pa. Nilakatikim ka siguro ng gulpi di gulat, right? Magugulpi ka ng tatay mo. So, policies are similar to that. Your father and your mother never told you not to drink or smoke outside. Siguro sasabihin nila sa iyo, anak, huwag kang magpasobra kasi baka madisgrasya ka. O, di ba? Tama, di ba? Pangangaralan lang tayo. Pero most of our parents right now would even tell us, okay, makisama ka, 1 bottle will do. Or 1 cigarette will do. But never any parent will tell you that son, daughter, you can smoke in front of me, you can drink in front of me. Kakanain ka ng parents mo, malilintikan ka. So similar to that, the company does not limit you, is not telling you, or is not limiting, is not limiting you at all to exercise your freedom of speech. Pwede ka namang mag-freedom of speech outside of the company. Yan. Pagdating sa FB, ano pang gagawin natin sa FB? As long as you are not including the name of your company in your profile, then you can do so. Second, hindi mo nilalagay sa masamang image ang logo and uniform of your organization. So in other words, if you are going to be expressive about your expressions on FB because you think it's all yours, you might as well change your name and then be responsible enough not to drag anything with you, the company with you in terms of your political opinion and of course in terms of your freedom of speech. Kaya nga nakagandahan is pagdating sa FB, you have to exercise the highest level of maturity. Parati mong iisipin, ikakatuwa ba ni nanay at ni tatay pag nakita yung picture ko sa FB? So always ask yourself that, will my mother be proud to see me in this skanky 2-piece suit? Or will my father be proud? Is this photo going to make my father proud? Or the post is going to make him proud, me being a son? Pag nasabihan siya ng kasama niya sa trabaho na loko-loko pala yung anak mo kung anong pinopost sa FB. So think and put yourself in that level of maturity. Because that's exactly how it is when it comes to company policies and when it comes to employee discipline. Yung nanay at tatay natin, yun ang nasa kumpanya, mga managers, they operate under the same manner din, under that same not set of traits but under that concept, no, wherein we are all guided under the code of the company. So another question pa nga dyan, what about, sir, freedom of love, expression of love? Yari tayo dyan. Okay, sige, pwede naman, malay natin, yung CEO nyo, dalaga pa, di ba? 50-year-old, dalaga pa, ikaw ngayon 30-year-old na rank and file, nagkagustuhan kayo ni ma'am. Is there a conflict of interest? Yes, there is. But does the company has the right to stop you from loving each other? The answer is no. Now, common sense will come in. One of you will have to leave. Di ba? O kasi conflict of interest. Bakit? Syempre pag nasa rank ka, unionized yung organization, most likely part of the union ka. Girlfriend mo, yung CEO. Di ba? So, the CEO should be in the right leadership mindset to coach you that you have to, in love ka kay ma'am eh. So ikaw na lang din siguro mismo, without having to be coached, you have to, tender your resignation and follow your heart. Now, pagdating naman sa department to department, manager to manager, okay lang din. As long as the position will never compromise. As long as the relationship will never compromise your position. Halimbawa, accounting, treasury, tapos supply chain, o si supply chain nasa inventory manager siya, nasa inventory department siya ng supply chain functional group. Girlfriend niya ngayon si treasury, the one who pays and orders for all the supplies. O edi magkakaroon tayo ng question mark ngayon kasi inventory, ano bang trabaho ng inventory manager? To check the minimum and the maximum level of the day's balance, di ba? In terms of inventory count. Si finance manager naman is the one who pays and purchase. Di ba? So magkakaroon tayo ng conflict of interest doon. So as long as the love affair will never put your job will not compromise your job, your position, then the love affair is okay. Pero in that situation, in that example, then it's compromised. Clearly, it is compromised. What about affair naman sa isang manager and sa isang tao? Well, kung wala naman if you're directly reporting to the boss, then walang conflict of interest. Halimbawa, nasa HR ka, yung girlfriend mo nasa QA, girlfriend mo nasa kung saan sa treasury or sa department, sa operations, then wala namang conflict of interest, then you can continue with your relationship. In fact, other organizations, I'm not so sure if that is true, but I heard in Unilab parang they are even encouraged to have that certain level to have that relationship in the organization kasi it nurtures lalo na amongst their medical representatives, their sales representatives. Kasi nga naman kung pareho kayo ng trabaho, pareho kayo ng takbo ng pag-iisip, di ba? Magkakaintindihan kayo kung bakit na-assign sa Mindanao si husband at ikaw naman na-assign ka sa Pampanga.
Mas inspired ka.
No, inspired di ba? Inspired ka kasi pareho kayo ng trabaho. And then nandun yung forever mo. Forever kayo until you retire, di ba? Nandiyan kayo magkasama. What is being prohibitedly prohibited, sorry. What is actually being prohibited 100% to happen in the workplace is for you to engage in a sexual act. O yun ang pinagbabawal. Kung bawang para bang nagkasagian kayo ng siko at madilim yung kwarto, madilim yung opisina, and merong aircon, at doon kayo nagkagandahan ng loob, yun ang pinoprohibit ng kumpanya. Di ba? Kasi nga naman, iskandalo yun. Unang-una, pagka, halimbawa, may asawa yung isa naman, wala. Okay, parang may asawa. That's scandalous. No, and it's going to really a blatant conflict of interest. So if we're to apply employee discipline on that part, it's like what I said kanina, the analogy, it's as good as being caught with your hand right inside the cookie jar. Para kang nahuli red-handed. So common sense will tell you, huwag ka lang magpumasok bukas, you might as well submit your resignation, basta tender it right away. So yun po yung how I hope I was able to share
yes,
progressive discipline and positive discipline in managing employee discipline.
So thank you, Oliver. So that was like a very concise of the explanation of the process. Okay, so actually sabi ni Benj, that was a meaty presentation. So from Benjamin Caruncho.
Sana hindi naman mabilis, baka napabilis ako ng masyado. I was being conscious of the time as well because I would rather have a discussion. Mas gusto ko yung may mga nagtatanong tapos sagutin natin rather than just doing a PowerPoint presentation.
Sure. So, but this one gives an overview, okay, because we have a lot of young HR practitioners, okay.
Yes.
They've been actually asking us about this, eh. They want to make sense of employee discipline. So,
Mm.
ito, si Ken, may tanong ka ba, Ken?
Wala, bago tayo magtanungan, syempre basahin muna, acknowledge muna natin yung mga friends natin watching right now, di
Sure.
ba? Oo, so yan, again, sa mga friends natin watching, a very, very good presentation, pero very, very important din na magtanong kayo. Okay? Kasi syempre, sulitin natin yung oras natin dito, di ba? Pero I want to read, sinabi din ni Ben, sabi niya, I'd like to sum it up this way. In any organization, you just can't have it all. We have to relinquish bits and pieces of our individuality for the greater good. Wow, okay. Sabi ni Sharina Mondehar, very nice presentation po. Tapos sabi ni Lynn Chiate, well explained po. Yan. Tapos sabi ulit ni Benj, it's okay naman. The pace of explaining is good. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Super nice, super nice. So ayun guys again, we're open for questions. So kung meron kayong mga insights or questions, pwede niyo i-comment and we'd be glad to actually read it out here.
So this one, Oliver. So the question of who, when your hand was caught inside the cookie jar. Okay, things like theft. Okay, so yan. There are two kinds kasi, diba? One is yung talagang kinuha yung gamit, yung physical, like the ones na rampant with the BPO industry. Yung cellphone mo, iniwan mo sa desk mo, biglang mawawala yung cellphone. So you get the things of your colleague, okay? So nananakaw yung cellphone. And then yung iba naman, yung isang klase ng theft is yung theft ng, actually, dalawa pa rin categories. So, theft ng company property and theft of company funds. Okay, so ikaw, what was your experience dealing with theft?
Okay, I'll share with you muna just to add context what I'm going to say later. A similar case happened years ago when I used to work in a beverage company. No, yung isang bottling operator nagnanakaw na pala ng copper, hindi namin alam. Yung copper na yun nakatago sa loob ng water jug. Kasi ginagawa ng copper, pwede mo naman siyang as wires, pwede mo siyang balutin, kunutin mo lang, pasok mo ngayon sa water jug. Yung water jug, pinupuno ng tubig. Kaso yung water jug, na-notice na it was too heavy for a water jug. And nagkataon kasi yun na para bang nagmamadali and then tinulungan siya ng security guard. It was heavier than the usual weight of the water. So, nagkaroon ng next yung daan, in-inspection na ngayon, anong klaseng water jug yung dala-dala niya, bakit napakabigat. Wala palang tubig. Puro mga copper wire. Kasi in that beverage company, we allow employees to bring water from the company. Kasi inaano muna sinasanitize muna yung water bago gawing soft drinks. No? So, pinupurify muna. So, lahat ng proseso mas clean, mas talagang malinis bagong gawing soft drinks. So it was found out, caught in the act, no, stealing from the company. Anong gagawin natin? Are we going to terminate the person right there and then? The answer is no. You apply pa rin the due process. Bibigyan pa rin natin siya ng notice to explain, blah blah blah. Although common sense will tell you that you can expect the person to resign, di ba? Magre-resign na kasi kagad siya, hindi niya sasagutin yung due process But the most important kasi ng notice to explain, in the absence of notice to explain na terminate mo yung tao, babalikan ka niya. Pwede niya sabihin na, hindi po ako nagnakaw. Ipinabuhat lang po sa akin yun ng ibang tao. It just so happened na nandun ako, bit-bit ko yung ako napagbintangan. So, in the absence of that explanation, written explanation, then you will be at fault. Anong resulta nun? You will have to hire him back and pay back all the wages due to him. No, so we need to establish due process. Magbibigay ka pa rin ng notice to explain, prescribing your company's prescription on the notice to explain reply. It could be 24 hours, 3 days, it could be 72 hours even. So, that being said, at halimbawang nag-resign siya, hindi niya tinuloy yung notice to explain niya, then you can now serve the notice, the decision. But the decision, before the decision happens, kasi dismissible na case to eh. So you need to convene. You need to convene the next rank. Next rank, convene kayo. Kasi hindi pwedeng ikaw lang as HR tsaka yung immediate boss eh. Hindi pwedeng, kuha ka ng one skip up, merong one level up, part of the committee to decide for his termination. At talaga magkukonvene talaga kayo and you really have to terminate the person. Now, another example naman, employee to employee. Employee to employee. Kasi sinabi ni Chris kanina, ninakawan siya ng cellphone. This also happened, ninakaw naman yung ATM. Alam yung password, cash out lahat yung laman. So theft, kasi yung theft nangyari sa loob ng kumpanya, hindi naman nangyari sa labas ng opisina. They were having a meeting and the bag was really opened and the ATM was taken out from the wallet. So anong penalty may bibigay natin yun? Termination or suspension? Well, it should be termination. Kasi it should be termination because even if the money that was taken out from the ATM account owns by somebody, the ATM itself, the ATM card and the account is owned by the management. Ayun. Kaya nga po tayo sa kumpanya, sa management, we do not allow disbursement of pay to someone else's personal account. Dapat management account yan, company account yan. So by saying, ang ninakaw niya ngayon is yung ATM owned by the management. So yun, ninakaw niya yung so na-penalize siya doon, blah, blah, blah. Now, ito naman, outright, parang cellphone din. Ninakaw din yung pinaka-latest din to sa isang kumpanya rin na hospital. The most recent one, ninakawan naman din siya ng cellphone. Sa locker, kasi may locker yung mga bedside nurses pag pumapasok kasi they were given locker rooms because they cannot bring the cell phones with them. So, ninakaw ngayon ng isang kasama niya sa trabaho. So, anong nangyari? Company policy applies. But the company penalty, or the penalty that goes along with the commission of offense is not going to be dismissal. Suspension. Bakit? Well, depende sa organization yan. If the organization says na it should be dismissal, and there's no problem with that kind of penalty, then you can go on. Always remember the management has a prerogative to decide and to manage its own business. And employee discipline is part of that prerogative. So it just so happened na ganoon yung management, suspension lang. Pero tanong, kailangan ba siyang i-terminate? If the policy says so, that it can be terminated, then termination will be applied. Pwede nyo po siyang i-terminate based on the penalty subscribed by your COB. Now, last example na to. Last example, third. Nagnakaw siya sa customer naman. Customer naman yung nakawan niya. Absent yung policy. In the absent of that offense on the policy, hindi natin ma-apply ngayon yung company, yung NTE. But you need to discipline the employee pa rin, di ba? So, saan ka papasok ngayon doon sa penalty na yon? Para pag-diskusyonan natin yung offense na yon. Papasok yun sa customer relations, sa customer management ka na. Pagka tingnan mo yung doon related to that, ano yung pag-usapan nyo. Ngayon, kung halimbawa you really want to penalize that offense kasi magiging magiging precedent yan eh. Baka lahat ng mga empleyado doon magnanakaw because they know that they can get away with it. And of course, the reputation that you're going to have kasi yung customer magiging bad brand ambassador yun at magsasabi ng kung ano-ano sa labas. Okay. So you have to encourage the customer to file a case to the blatter. To file a blatter to the nearest police station. Nearest police station, ito the nearest barangay. Dalawa po yan. Barangay and police station. Pag isa lang, pwede. Pero mas maganda pag dalawa. Yun kung wala kayong ano ba tawag dito? Part of that is if that is missing in your code of discipline.
So it has to be kahit papaano you can actually make a procedure for that kasi but the most important part is yung for grave kasi we're talking about offenses na grave offenses na to theft. This is like something that kasi sa akin basta nagnakaw that would be dismissible. Kasi even if hindi ko gamit yon, gamit ng kasama niya, that's not normal. Okay, and what will be the relationship afterwards of these two
Correct.
people, di ba? Yun.
Correct.
So, yan yung iiral sa akin doon. Hindi dahil strict ako. It's just that uh,
Loss of trust yan eh.
within the two
Oh.
employees. And it will be hard to patch it up.
And it's, I agree with you, Chris. And it's actually loss of trust.
Mm.
And trust is very important in a relationship in order to get commitment. How can you get the commitment of one employee if he doesn't feel safe and he can't trust his fellow employees? Again, going back to management prerogative, you do not have to wait for the union to agree with you in creating your policy. Ito po yung sinasabi ko parate, lalo sa mga unionized organization. Kasi kapag hindi nyo in-exercise yung management prerogative nyo, para nyo rin itinapon yung negosyo nyo at ibinigay nyo po sa union.
Sitting duck kayo.
Opo, hindi po ibig sabihin no na porket may union kayo, you have to give the business to the employee, to the union. Hindi po 'yun. And kayo naman as union members, kung nakikinig man kayo ngayon o kayo sa HR na nasa HR kayo and meron kayong union sa organization nyo, you have to remind everyone and you have to remind yourself that you are first an employee before you are a union member. Okay, you are first an employee before you are a union member. So with that being said, whatever is written in policy by the management, you have to uphold it as the golden truth. O you have to uphold this golden truth. Ito yung sabi sa so sundin natin. Pero in the implementation of suspension, penalty in terms of progressive discipline, you have to exercise compassion. Di ba? Okay, execution na yun and you're going to execute it. Pero at that time when you are following the policy, you follow it to the last detail. Dapat sundin mo, di ba? Kaya yung sinasabi ng iba na hindi kasi it's going to violate my constitutional right, my freedom of speech. Kalokohan yan. You have to go back to the rights of the management, the management prerogative, the right to manage its business. And that includes discipline, that includes performance, that includes all policies related. Opo. So, ganoon po yung panindigan natin sa HR. Kaya kung meron mga gross and habitual neglect of duties in the implementation of mga doubtful, mga qualified, tulad sa sabi ko na qualified theft, qualified harassment, qualified you have to exercise compassion. Ibang-iba po siya sa caught in the act.
Mm-mm.
Okay, ibang-iba po 'yun kasi qualified. That's the operating word natin eh. How can you exercise compassion? Why is it that it's only limited or compassion is limited to qualified? Kasi qualified has benefit of the doubt.
Mm-mm.
Meron siyang cloud of doubt na pwede kang maging mali sa allegation mo. Di ba? Pwede kang mali. At pwede kang maging excessive sa penalty binigay mo. So may cloud of doubt, may question yun. Different yung kapag caught with the cookie jar inside with the hand inside the cookie jar.
Pati mga kuhaan na yun eh. Kuha mo na lang ng cellphone, yung picture, di ba? Yun. Kasi yung iba kasi, natatakot dyan. It's like this. When kasi merong ito kasi nasa showbiz ako dati. Okay, there was this case. Hindi pa ako HR noon. Na-mention mo yung so ginawa nilang motel yung yung opisina. Okay? So, syempre caught in the act sila ng janitor nagpunta sa HR. Okay? So, ang rason nung dalawa is kasi nagmamahalan sila, etc. So, I'm glad you made the clarification. Pero okay lang naman magmahalan, wag nang nyo gawin na motel yung opisina. Okay.
Pero Chris, good thing Chris, hindi ako yung nahuli mo.
Oh, yeah.
Kasi kung ako nahuli mo, alam mo ano isasagot ko.
Ano yun?
Hindi, nagpa-practice pa kami ng script namin.
Kasi entertainment, 'di ba? Pero
nasa script namin, pina-practice lang namin to para sa actual, para isang take lang.
Hindi siya kasi actors. Okay, ano siya,
Ay, di siya actor.
managers. Oo.
Malas, malas,
Oo,
malas.
manager siya. I'm sorry, I didn't make it clear. Actually, there were two parang parts siya nung management. Okay, so
Okay.
oo, yung
Chris,
Janet,
Chris, if I may ask, where were you before? Not mentioned.
secret.
Ah,
baka
hindi
baka
kasi when I was young, I also aspired, I also aspired to be in showbiz when I was younger. So,
Oh, I was
nag-theater ako,
actually,
nag-ano ako.
I was in the news. I was
Okay.
doing I was the stock market girl of this, it's a UHF channel that became,
Uh-huh.
another UHF, that was actually, revived in the year 2000 to be another UHF
Uh-huh.
channel. So I was the stock market girl. So after
Mm.
everything, instead of the weather report, I come in and I tell the movement in
Uh,
the stock market. So that was my job before.
ah,
So yeah, and then I went on to become the stock market correspondent. So basta that was the news in the grapevine kasi yung janitor nahuli sila tapos hindi alam ng HR yung gagawin. So kami naman, so tawa kami ng tawa. O nga, malapit lang yung kasi malapit sa ano yun eh. Malapit lang sa motel yon. Madaming hotels kasi nakatabi doon. Oh, ang
grabe
clue
naman,
nasa
walang
Quezon
budget.
City siya. Nasa Quezon City siya. Like,
Pero, pero grabe wala silang budget. Grabe
oo
naman yung
nga.
manager na yun.
Mala,
Akala ko si artista. Kung
hindi,
artista
hindi.
sa nahuli ng janitor, ako mismo sisigaw ng cut. Cut na ba? Cut? Cut na ba? Cut na, cut na. Okay, okay. Pahinga muna ako ha.
Oo. Pero ang ano kasi nila, nagmamahalan sila. So, yun.
Okay lang
Walang defense.
magmahalan.
Kumuha lang kayo ng sarili niyong
Yes,
motel.
correct. Oo.
Okay, so I think there's a question here sa kay Ken. Okay. Well, Ken is
Yeah.
actually,
Yan, dito. Siyempre. Basahin muna natin yung question, di ba? Yung unang question muna kay Angelic. Hi, Angelic. Sabi niya is, I have a question po. The employee was caught in the act of stealing money. Yun na, quote and quote, in the act. So ano po yung standard process ng employee discipline kapag nakakulong na yung employee?
In the first place, ba't siya nakakulong? Pinakulong nyo? Nakalagay ba dun sa kung bakit nakakulong yung employee? Pinakulong?
Walang
pinakulong mo
data.
ata to. Okay, so just
Okay.
let's just clarify kung bakit
Mm.
nakakulong na. Oo.
Can you comment?
Oh, kasi
Can you
kung
comment that?
kasi kung nakakulong na siya at ipinakulong nyo, magiging na yun,
Pinakulong daw. Nag-comment ka.
pinahuli sa pinakulong.
Oo.
Pwede nyo na siyang i-terminate not on the base na not on the base na nagdakaw siya, but based on the fact na hindi na siya makabalik sa trabaho. So,
Actually.
nakakulong eh.
Kasi
So, mas easier pa yun.
Kaya nga meron kami, there was one company I worked with, we find everything from sa theft, okay, so nakulong siya. Kasi yung company na I worked with, okay, may rampant theft ng mga pyesa ng motorsiklo. And then there was an incident na na parang it's actually an investigation kasi madaming nawawalang pyesa. And also, just a tip, okay, kaya namin nakita yung mga pyesa na yon kasi suddenly, kasi yung time na yon may CCTV. And actually, yung trabaho ko is may camera, tapos may nakatingin yung isa kong monitor, nandun na yung CCTV. I noticed that these people, palagi silang tumitingin sa trash can. Oo. And then, napansin ko, just a pattern, isipin mo kasi ang trabaho ko, pag nagta-type ako, wala akong magawa, mapapatingin ka doon. So, the whole time, nakatingin ka sa CCTV. I just noticed a movement. But at a certain time, titingin sila sa isang trash can. Okay? Tapos, parang napansin ko, when they take out the trash can, ingat na ingat sila sa trash can. Oh, bilang one time, lumabas ako, teka, patingin nga nung trash can na andun yung mga pyesa. Oh, di ba? Parang kailangan si inspector
Yeah.
I look into the pattern, no?
you have to
Human
see the
behavior, eh. Human
Oo, but
behavior, eh.
kasi wala akong choice nung
Mm.
time na yon kasi part ng trabaho ko was tumingin sa CCTV, okay? Kasi yung sa desk ko, nandiyan na yung CCTV, may laptop ako. So pag nagre-rest ka ng mata mo, napatingin ako, bakit parang tingin ng tingin to sa trash can palagi?
Mm.
Ganun. Tapos, kasi yung time na yon nagsismoke pa ako. So paglabas ko, na-notice ko, pag when they take out the trash can, parang iniingatan nila yung trash can. Like, di ba yung trash can, kukunin mo lang, ganun.
Tapon mo.
Oo.
Oo, di ba?
Wala lang.
Wala lang. Ito, parang ingat na ingat sila. So, parang nagwa-wonder ako, bakit ganun sila? Oo, yon. So,
Marami
basta,
rin yan. Marami rin yan, Chris, sa sa hotels and restaurants.
oo.
And resorts, yung kaning baboy.
Mm-mm. Ay, oo.
Naka-seal yung mga karnes, lalagay sa kaning baboy. Tapos kukunin na lang
Ito, no?
tinapon na. Oo,
Galing,
isinisil
galing,
nila yun
galing.
eh.
Oo, yan mga ano. So, I suggest if you are in these industries like you are in the factory or in the restaurant industry, okay, try to look at the trash can, see baka pag madami kayong nawawalang mga I call it yung 'di ba like when you inventory your raw materials, probably some of your raw materials are there. Kasi ano siya that was why I was hired by that company was to investigate. And then, parang napapansin ko, these people, parang, tsaka ano siya, at a particular time, parang lahat sila nagyoyosi.
Mm.
Oo. So, pagbawal ko nga yung pagyosi nila.
Inaabangan.
Kaya ako napakwit magyosi kasi pinagbawal ko yung yosi nung time na yun. Ayun. So anyway, so this one, kung nakakulong na siya, it's a ground. Hindi na talaga siya makakatrabaho.
Hindi
So,
na makapasok, eh. Nakakulong na, eh.
Kulong na eh.
and then also, we have also kasi a rule na pag nakulong ka, okay, it's actually a part of yung good
Ground for
government.
dismissal.
For dismissal yun. Kaya madaming, would you believe merong nakulong dahil sa concubinage? Ahente, okay, tanggal siya. Okay, kasi nag-declare siya ng leave. Nagtataka ako bakit hindi siya yung nagfo-file.
Okay.
Parang
Kasi
kaibigan
nakakulong
niya
na
yung
siya.
nagfo-file. Oo. Tapos yung kinulit ko yung kaibigan niya. Kasi parang work buddy niya yon. Nalaman namin nakakulong na siya kasi kinulong siya sa barangay. Parang nag-report yung so hindi na siya. It was still due process kasi parang nagpapapiansa ka naman nun kasi pwede ka naman magpiansa. So pagbalik niya, we actually did the NTE. Actually, it wasn't an NTE, it was shortcut. We talked to him and then because you lied, kasi sabi niya may sakit siya. May ginawa silang letter nung kaibigan niya, may sakit daw siya. So like, why can't he call? There's a cell phone. Ganun. So, anyway, si June, Mr.
Yeah,
June
si
Aspacio
June.
is here.
Sir June Aspacio. He has a question. Sabi, is it if that loss of trust and confidence is limited only to positions of trust?
Totoo naman. It is only limited to the position of trust. However, what I said earlier that the loss of trust amongst employees, kasi yung sinabi natin kanina na pagnanakaw ng kapwa empleyado is the trust that you have as an employee with your fellow employee. But in terms of termination, if you're going to apply loss of trust to somebody because nagnakaw siya, it will not apply. Kasi it should be on a position that requires trust and confidence. Ano ito? Ito yung mga executive position o vice president, president, director, treasury kasi loss of trust yan sa procurement and also sa inventory. Not all position in supply chain, but positions like inventory and purchaser, because they are the ones in decision or to influence a decision in purchasing and to make bulk orders. So tama po kayo doon, Sir June, yung sinabi nyo yon. Ang mini-mention namin kanina ni Chris regarding sa loss of trust is you as an employee, you will not have the trust working with an employee who stole your money. Or you are not going to trust anyone working in an environment where everybody steals something from anyone, di ba? So, yung commitment mo ngayon will be in question. O you yourself will start questioning your level of commitment. Dapat ba akong papasok ng maaga o papasok ako ng late? Should I be this diligent or should I be passive? Most likely, you will become passive rather than being diligent. Most likely, you will become uh, delinquent rather than consistent, di ba? Kasi you do not the loss of trust in the corporate structure, in the corporate culture, not trust in a form of position. So definitely you can be terminated outright, or the qualified theft can be applied to you in the absence of trust and confidence, provided that you are in a position of trust and confidence. And to add to that, kasi yung trust and confidence is not only limited, by the way, with the access in treasury. Okay, hindi lang po 'yon. There was a recent Supreme Court ruling that the trust and confidence also applies to positions critical in the organization. Ano ito? Secretary, admin assistant. Kasi sila po yung mga tao na ang mga position na may access sa secret files eh. 'Di ba? Ito yung mga positions na habang nagchichismisan yung dalawang executive, pinag-uusapan yung isang executive, sila yung nakikinig. Di ba? Totoo yan. Totoo yan. I mean, the truth has it. Tapos, ito pa yung mga numero unong chismosa sa opisina. Kasi yung mga executive assistant sa isang organization, pag nagkikita-kita yan, sila rin mismo nagchichismisan. Diba? Nagchichismisan nila yung boss nila, kung ano sinabi dun sa boss ng kabila. O totoo yan. I mean, it's not a secret, no? So the question now, the loss of trust, will that apply in terminating somebody in the level of executive assistant? The answer is yes. The level secretary, the answer is yes. Because the virtue of trust and confidence is not only limited with the access and treasury, but also includes in positions wherein trust and confidence is present. O yun.
Well, just a note, okay, gossiping is not really well, gossiping is not really a good way to kasi in an environment, okay, such as like corporations, a lot of people are prone to so they gossip, okay. When I was younger, I was so chismosa. Oh, di ba?
Pareho tayo lahat. Lahat tayo yata.
And in fact, that's how we get, but there's such a thing as kasi like the effect of what you do, and you just have to weigh things out as a person and as an employee. You always have to be conscious of, kasi here it's not about whether the policies permit it or not. Okay, it's about how you manage yourself. Okay, so that's why when we talk about employee discipline, it took us a long time, Oliver, to have features on employee discipline and ER, because we were espousing that if you hire right, you'll never have to fire. Okay, but
pero ano yun? Chris, you're about to say something. Sorry,
I was like, we were talking about before, this unraveled in chapters. Okay, so we always have to go back to how we hired and how, the qualifications and whether the employee met the standards, so that that person can be hired. So that's number one. The second is, of course, during the course of your employment, the employee, gets a lot of bad habits, and it has something to do with being comfortable in the environment. Okay, naging masyadong komportable na siya. And then one of the manifestations of that is the gossiping. Kasi naging komportable na, so nawala na yung boundaries. So but guys, the effect of gossip is really bad. Even during this pandemic, because the boundaries, I'm involved in another I'm in an advocate organization as well. And there was this issue about this person being cited in a very public post in one of the communities. And being an HR practitioner, kasi they were going to expel that person. And I really set my foot down, because I said, this is actually gossip. Our organization is bigger than this. Diba? So kasi this one has an effect, really. This one has an effect on the person. Okay, so, and then I always say that you have, whenever you do something, you always have to put yourself on the other person's
Mm.
shoes. Okay, it's like, for example, would you want people to gossip about you,
Mm.
mga ganon. So we have like an issue of self. So there are certain behaviors na negative, like gossiping, and it's actually a reflection of the person's ability to self-manage
Mm.
oneself. Sa tingin ko, yun yung mga sa chismosa. But admittedly, I actually learned about that through time. Kasi when
Mm.
I was younger, kasi nga, masarap mag-chismis eh. Very entertaining, di ba? But actually, I've also, because I've been working for 2 decades already, I've already reflected on that, na masama yun, okay, because of what you can do
Mm.
on the other person.
The harm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also harm.
Chris, just to add with what you just said, no. Ganito kasi yan eh. You have to understand or first let's go to hiring, to
Mm,
recruitment.
mm,
Hiring the right candidate meaning hiring the right employee.
mm,
That principle will only apply in terms of qualification, in terms of getting the right person for the right job. But as to getting the right person in perfect person in the right job, the question is not.
mm,
The answer is no. Kasi lahat tayo dito tao, as human as we are, we're going to be influenced by the environment that we are in. And imagine, lahat tayo nagtatrabaho, we spend more than 8 hours per day in the working environment in our workplace.
mm,
Pagdating sa bahay, i-deduct na lang natin yung traffic sa EDSA and sa traffic sa kung saan-saan, we will only spend 4 hours quality time with our family. Because the next hours that will come after the 4 hours will be spent either watching Netflix or going to sleep or reading a book. Di ba? Ganun lang talaga. Yung pag-dinner, daday ka ng bahay, alas 6. Kasi
mm.
off ka ng 5, dating mo ng bahay, alas 6. Dinner, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 hours lang yan. Ilang yung kasama mo sa bahay. So you only have 4 hours to spend with your family, wherein you have more than 8 hours a day spent in the workplace.
Mm.
So you have different influences coming in. O ano na ngayon yung life cycle ng empleyado? Di ba? Hire, retire,
Mm.
hire, retire tayo. That's our journey. No? The journey of a new employee, ganito yung journey ng new employee. Kaya kailangan natin siyang competency-based training, competency-based learning. Because yung journey niyan, after 1 year pa natin papasok yung learning, competency-based learning. Because on the first 6 months, adjustment to the job,
Mm.
adjustment to the environment. Ano pa yan? Ano ba tawag dito? Yung masunurin pa yan. Masunurin pa yan, first 6 months. Kasi 6 months, celebration of the regularization. Eh. From 7th month to 10th month, marami ng kaibigan yan. After the 12-month period, after the 12th month, makakaroon siya mga berks, kaibigan, cliques. Makakaroon siya ng mga cliques. Doon na ngayon papasok yung familiarity with the organization and familiarity with everyone. So dito na papasok yung gossip and rumors becoming destructive and harmful. Okay naman siguro pag-usapan natin yung isang tao, but not to the level wherein it already ruins the person's reputation and character. Kasi para bang yung mga hinihila natin sa Tulfo. Hinihila sa Tulfo. Ikaw pag nahilak sa Tulfo, you have the right to say no eh. I don't have the right to explain. I don't have the right to answer back to Tulfo or to the person complaining. If you want my response, my reply, I will see you in the proper court or in the proper venue. Kasi pag ginawa mo 'yon, pag umattend ka sa Tulfo, whatever they will do to you is already moot in academic. They can get away with it free. Hindi mo kasi binigyan ng value yung sarili mo eh. So when you hear, ikaw mismo is going back to what Chris said earlier, self-discipline or self-leadership, as in other concepts, we call it self-leadership. You have to exercise limitation, your own self-limitation. Hanggang saan ko ba pwede pag-usapan si ganito at saka si ganyan, no? Hindi naman to buhay ni John Lloyd Cruz at saka ni Ellen Adar na pinag-uusapan natin. Pag-uusapan natin, kasama natin sa trabaho. Di ba? So you have to exercise maturity on that level.
Yes, but it actually takes maturity. Okay. So anyway, they're going back. Our questions are going back to theft. So we have Miss May Abiera's question. So, but if the manager or the supervisor does not do the correct disciplinary action for grave offenses like suspensions or even termination, but encourages resignation instead, how can
Nako,
management reverse the decision?
nako, delikado yan. Unang-una, pagsabihan niyo po si manager at si supervisor because that now goes to constructive dismissal. You are coercing the person to resign. And if the penalty is not even, that the penalty in itself can be considered already as too harsh in terms of applying or administering the full penalty, suspension pa lang yun, tapos kino-coerce mo na siyang mag-resign is even a graver offense on the management side. Oh, and always remind the manager and the supervisors that they are management representative. Whatever they say is going to reflect back to the management, and it's the management who's going to pay the cost, not them. Hindi mo naman pwedeng i-salary deduct yung back wages ng umalis na empleyado, di ba? Hindi mo pwedeng i-deduct kay manager yung back wages na yun. So you have to warn them na pag nangyari yun, baka ikaw yung masisante.
Kasama ka sa
Boss,
masisante.
baka ikaw yung masisante. Oo.
Actually, I have,
Tapos ikaw din na HR kasi hindi mo siya pinagsabihan ng maayos, hindi mo siya tinuruan ng maayos. Baka ikaw yung sumunod. Yes, Chris, you have?
yeah, this one kasi extreme yan eh. Talking to the person to resign because the intent is drastic punishment, okay? Or kasi meron namang iba, mag-graceful exit na lang, pwede naman. For me kasi, you have to finish the investigation. Okay, before you have any decision at all. Kasi malay mo, kasi ang ano kasi sa theft is the monetary equivalent of the one that was stolen. What if ang magdesisyon yung, tsaka remember, Oliver was right eh, for grave offenses, you have to have a committee. Okay, so there's HR, the line manager, and another higher authority. Okay, kasi the COO. Kasi dapat meron kayong committee. Kasi 3 people, syempre mapuprove nyo yan sa DOLE na objective decision. Okay, hindi yan pinag-initan. Okay, second is, you finish, with regards to moderate, especially on grave offenses, you finish the process. Diba? It's safer. It's much more prudent, diba? Then parang kasi yung iba kasi ang ginagawa uunahan ng resignation para hindi siya magka-record. Anyway, magkaka-record ka pa rin kasi pag inunahan mo ng resignation, kasi dapat accepted ang resignation, hindi mo nang iniwan sa desk. Kasi yung iba nagpapadala pa ng resignation, nagme-mail.
To add with what Chris said earlier, yung sinabi niyang dapat accepted by the management, received and accepted.
Yes.
Na magkakaroon ka pa rin ng record. Actually, ang nakalagay dyan with prejudice. Pagka nilagyan na, tatanggapin ng management, pero may kaso ka, outright termination niyo kasi theft eh. Ilalagay doon ng management sa with prejudice. With prejudice to ongoing investigation, blah blah. O copy return sa'yo, tapos yung sinabit mong ilalagay doon sa sa 201 mo na may ongoing pala. May ongoing pala to nung nag-resign. Although ngayon safer na sa lahat ng mga magnanakaw kasi because of the department order number 24 yata as of 2020. 2019 ba 'yon? 2019. Nakalagay doon is that the management is now compelled to give certificate of employment. No, validating the employment years. Yun lang sinasabi. Without mention of the nature of the exit.
Yeah,
pero
syempre
magkakaroon ng kaso sa HR, maliit yung mundo natin sa HR, pagka may tumawag sa yung taga-HR sa kabilang kumpanya, parang without saying a word, alam mo na kung saan patutungo yung tawag na you are also compelled by principles to share the same information to the hiring company. O kung bakit siya natanggal sa trabaho kasi nagnakaw ng ganito. Now, lucky for you, if I will be the HR na tinawagan ni Chris, o halimbawa, nagnakaw sabi natin si Ken. Sabi natin si Ken na-terminate. Oo, nag-resign. Tapos here come Chris calling me up, asking na, Liv, kamusta si Ken? O, kamusta lang yung tinanong niya, kamusta si Ken? O, ako kasi, as a person, ayoko kasing manunog ng tao, ayokong gawing, that's the end of it all. Yung bang, kung may ginawa ka kaming kabulastugan, it's not karumal-dumal, meaning you did not murder anyone in the office or anyone outside of the office even. May chance ka pang magbago. That's how I see it eh. May chance ka pang magbago, di ba? So, yung iba nga dyan, nagnanakaw ng milyon-milyon. Nagbabago nga, ikaw pa kaya? So, ang gagawin ko, I will tell Chris, if I were the HR manager, I mean, I'm sharing this with you as my personal conviction only, and it's not a management best practices. My personal conviction will prevail over me, and I will have to sell Ken in a good way para tanggapin siya ni Chris at mag-continue yung trabaho niya at mabayaran niya yung kumpanya kung saan siya nakadisgrasya. Kasi kung nasa batas naman din yun na if the amount is more than 25,000, the exiting employee is compelled to pay off the cost and the amount, no? The cost of the loss. So para masingil namin si Ken, dapat may trabaho rin siya. At since may trabaho siya, naghahanap siya ng trabaho para makabayad, I have to sell him in a good way. Hindi ko sasabihin kay Cristina na nagnakaw, sasabihin ko lang, si Ken matigas yung ulo may sariling vision. Anong vision ni Ken? Mahilig kasi sa legends to tsaka sa sabong, online sabong. Ano sasabihin ko just to give her an idea, di ba? Pwede ko sasabihin na na utang si Ken at nagnakaw. That's my personal conviction. I always, for the past 15 years of my life, kasi medyo nung maaga ako sa HR 26 coming off from marketing, HR head kagad ako nung napasok ako. So, nung being an HR manager at that time, I had a different reality of the corporate. No? Ibang-iba yung mundo ng HR sa marketing. Sa marketing, puro kami gastos, puro kami hire dito, hire left and right. I get to, I always get invitation here and there, blah, blah, blah. So pagdating ko sa HR function at age 26, and the reality presented to me was totally different. If I could remember, what changed me, if I could remember, a guy was on a casual status, nabaon sa utang. I think he has 4 kids at that time. Nauso pa yung cellphone na 2G, yung 5110. Kaya di ko makalimutan yung 5110. Although I never had 5110 in my life, Nokia 5110. But this poor fellow stole 5110 inside the jeepney. Inside the jeepney out of desperation. Kasi yung manufacturing firm na yun, na pinagtrabahuan ko, nag-endo kami. Kasi usong-uso pa endo noon. So nalagay siya sa endo. Kasi bumaba yung production volume. Kaya nagbawas din kami ng mga endo. He has 4 kids. The wife is not working. They live in a slum area. Kasi nga, the capacity to pay for a better, yun lang yung ma-afford nila. He ended up stealing 5110. Nahuli, nasa kote. Nagulpi. Nasa kote, nagulpi. Tapos, nung naabutan ko yun, in the process of termination. Kasi nga may policy sa kumpanya na pagka nakulong ka, hindi ka na pwedeng tanggapin ulit. Talagang tatanggalin ka na. So, ako naman, out of, yun yung reality nakita, ko kagad, well, I cannot rehire him because the policy is present. The best I did was to help him a little bit and then push him forward with another company. I had to sell him. I had to call my friends, naghahanap ba kayo dyan ng pintor? Magaling na pintor to, blah, 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 blah. Jig maker, ganap ka ng jig maker dyan, magaling jig maker to. So, I had to do that because I believe that as human beings, as professionals even, we are all have the capability to change. Di ba? Magbabago naman tayo. Yung babaero nga, di na nagbababaero ngayon, di ba? Nagbabago rin. Lalo pa kaya yung
Actually,
ano.
people change naman talaga. So, actually, if you talk to me when I was younger, like mga 2011, 2012, okay, I was like really by the book. Well, there were certain things that changed me. First is, when I accepted nga that job, kaya nga nakuha ko sa job na yun kasi talagang ruthless, relentless, okay, by the book. But actually that experience changed me kasi there was a termination that I did. Kasi ang foreign, I won't say the nationality kasi baka mag-guess nyo yung company. But relentless talaga sila kasi ito naman, they wanted the manager to be terminated. Okay. And then kasi November sila nag-decide. December, parang nagtataguan sila nung manager. Tsaka, and I was caught in between. Eh, meron kasi kaming ibibigay. May package naman kasi yung manager. Pero nagtataguan sila. So, nagpang-abot sa day of the Christmas party. Since makulit yung boss ko, parang kasi talagang when you have a foreign boss, when they have decided that they don't, talagang kasi performance issue talaga. It wasn't any other issue, but it was really a performance issue. They've already decided kasi. And in fact, the package that the manager received was already parang na nga yun ginawa na lang na parang effort ng HR para meron siyang baon. So parang inisip namin yun. And then nagtataguan siya. And that changed me kasi even a 6 foot 300-pound man, when you give a termination to him on the on the day of the Christmas party, naiyak siya. Okay. Kasi nga, to him, the job, kasi nakuha niya yung package ngayon, pero after 3 months, paano siya makaka-recover? And that actually changed my perspective. That's why I left that job pagdating ng January. Kasi what I thought was a very juicy job, okay, in terms of career path, okay, eventually, I don't want that happening to me over again. Kasi mabigat. Mabigat ma-witness yon. And then he was like, nakikita ko siya sa Christmas party, umiikot-ikot siya ng building. Yung parang siya, kasi ako may pagka-stalker kasi ako, sinusundan ko. Kasi gusto kong makita kung anong gagawin, baka anong gawin Kasi nakita ko when I handed the documents to him, nakita ko yung mukha niya na parang iiyak siya na hindi ko maintindihan So, sinusundan ko siya ng tingin. And then, pagka nawala siya, lipat ulit ako, susundan ko siya. Kung tumitingin-tingin siya, parang wala siya sa sarili. Okay, so I don't ever want to see that again. That's why yung pagdating nung soul searching ko nung Christmas break, pagdating nung sometime, actually natagalan din ako mag-resign because my bosses actually liked me. It took them mga 2 months to approve my resignation. Pero ayoko na talaga because I don't want to see that face again na yung mag-hand ka ng resignation, iiyak siya. And this person was like he's not even a friend. Parang acquaintance ko lang, okay? Kasama ko, co-manager ko. And he's actually 6 feet, okay? 300 pounds, okay? As in, diba? So, I think that a person who has actually seen that kind of expression during termination would actually question why you became HR in the first place. Kasi this is, iba naman ang thinking natin ng HR.
So, correct.
Oo.
Totoo.
Oo. So, that's why, yes, I will still terminate after that, okay, with the other jobs, but I try to exhaust that decision. Okay, before you have to exercise everything before you suspend or before you terminate. Parang yun lang yung sa akin, okay? Pero I still follow the rules, okay? Tsaka kung maaari nga, medyo strict ako ngayon sa recruitment. Kasi nga, it has to be parang from the start, klaro lahat ng rules ng company and an explanation on the culture while selling the company.
Alam mo, Chris, ganyan na ginagawa ko eh. In fact, when it comes to recruitment, I mean, in fact, one of my previous bosses, this was in another beverage company. She asked me na ano, Liv, ba't mo sinisiraan yung kumpanya? Sabi ko, ha, sinisiraan? Sabi niya, oh, kasi sinasabi mo lahat sa candidate. Sabi ko, hindi yun. You have to tell the applicant, the candidate, of what the culture is about, what the company is about, and your company culture, and what do you value, and in what way you can be terminated. Pag ginawa mo to, tanggal ka. Para na kaagad nila kung ano yung pinapasukan. It's not destroying the image or the reputation of the company. You're actually promoting welfare. You're actually promoting good governance. Kasi equal may ano naman to, may equity naman to. It's actually equity for both sides, di ba? Equitable to you kasi alam mo, and equitable to the management kasi alam nila kung paano ano yung ina-expect mo sa kanila. Baka ina-expect kasi na it's going to be a foundation na pagpasok mo sa kumpanya, okay lang hindi ka magtrabaho but you still get your salary. Kung meron nun, baka nandun na rin ako, matagal na. But business is business. I mean, even in government right now, you don't perform, you pack your bags. Di ba? More so in the private.
Well, kasi actually, hindi sa, when I actually recruit, I orient the person what the culture is. Okay, hindi ko siya sinisiraan. But I would also say that if you do this, may listahan ako eh. You steal, okay, and sorry guys, if you talk bad about the company in social media, okay, you steal, okay, siraan mo yung company sa social media, okay, mention mo yung name, or magparinig ka sa akin sa social media at alam ko na yun yung issue, okay, and then the 2.5 pala yun, and then the last one is mag-awol ka. Okay, you will really get terminated. So it won't be a problem if you won't do those things. Kasi ganun naman talaga eh. I mean, kasi pag hindi mo ginawa yon, wala kang problema. So why would you, pero klaro lang that I already told you na basta yon, matitake ko pa nga yung mga white lie eh, kasi baka natakot lang or whatever. Pero yung mga kasi alam mo, companies that we work with, okay, of course, we have to also protect our image, okay? Kasi alam naman natin na we do business. And that's the reason why they have professional HRs is because they make sure that they are compliant and they follow rules of the government, di ba? They follow the laws because they are protecting their image. Wala naman sigurong kung nakikita nyo na hindi nagfo-follow ng rules yung company ninyo, okay, and nakikita nyo na kulang-kulang yung papeles, okay, dapat wala kayo sa company na yan.
Walang legal entity, no? Walang legal entity.
Walang
dapat may legal entity.
Actually,
ba naman yan?
Meron kasi unfortunately nga, may mga companies ngayon, shortcut nila, okay? They think they will just pay the penalties, okay? And then they will operate without the right papers. So ano nangyari? What happened during the first half of the pandemic? Yung nagbigay ng SBWS, yung Department of Finance. So, hindi nakakuha yung mga empleyado. Yun yung nangyari. Lahat na nagtanong sa akin noon, walang papers yung or hindi nagbabayad ng tamang tax.
Pero I'm curious paano kaya nila binabayaran yung premium statutory
hindi sila
premium
nagbabayad.
Hindi sila nagbabayad. Kasi walang employment contract yung mga empleyado. Kawawa naman.
Independent service contractors ang sa kanila.
Ang nakalagay?
Oo. And then hindi
naman.
nagbabayad ng Unfortunately, I'm sorry, okay, but most of the ESL industry, that's how they treat the teachers there. Okay, some remote workers. I'm just saying some remote workers because there are remote companies naman that, help their workers, okay, be compliant and are compliant naman. Pero unfortunately, this has to be addressed kasi. And because of the new normal, okay, this will be the jobs of the future. So, ang sinasabi ko lang is, there are companies that still don't have the right papers and they operate here. Ngayon, yung mga employees nakikipagsapalaran, siguro naman kung after 1 year at ganun pa rin kayo, siguro pwede na kayong mag-isip-isip.
Pero Chris, may silver lining yan eh. Favorable. May silver lining yan, favorable to the employees. Wala tayong employee discipline dito. Ba't ako
Wala nga.
didisiplinahin mo? Di mo naman ako empleyado eh.
Huwag kang
Diba?
mag-expect ng employee discipline.
Oo, pagka na-late ako sa deliverables ko, call yung attention ko ha. Di mo naman ako empleyado.
Kasi may keynote ako. May keynote ako. Kasi I do mentoring and coaching also for HR professor. May keynote ako na gano'n. Yun yung dilemma niya. So sabi ko, yung kanyang company, wala siyang legal personality. So sabi ko, so why don't you talk? Pero meron silang hierarchy eh. So may organize sila. So ang pagkaka-explain sa kanya is naabutan sila ng pandemic. So sabi ko sa kanya, by 2022, pag ganyan pa rin yan, dapat mag-change ka na talagang i-ready mo na yung sarili mo na 'di ba? Umalis ka diyan or talagang it's a decision on your part, okay? Kasi hindi na yan surviving the pandemic kasi I think by 2022 na-address na yung pandemic, 'di ba? Okay, so anyway, so we have one question here. So this is actually going back to TEF again, okay? And may question siya kasi nag-request siya ng pera from the company to buy something for all employees. Then that money I entrusted to my colleague para siya ang bumili nung dapat bilhin, but then bigla siyang nag-awol. Tinangay yung pera. So, yun yung mga nila. So, paano ba daw yun? So, sino yung, anong dapat siguro niyang gawin kung yun yung mangyari sa kanya?
Okay, unang-una, let's take a look at the first ang first question is who is accountable.
Yes.
Ang accountable diyan yung nag-request ng petty cash kasi hindi mo na reimburse, hindi mo na account na liquidate, hindi mo na liquidate yung petty
under
cash.
sa account mo yun.
Under sa account mo yun. So ikaw yung mananagot doon.
Unless, kasi ako kada nag-handle ako ng money sa TV station before, ang ginagawa ko, pinapasignan ko ng acknowledgement.
Papasa mo, yes.
Acknowledgement receipt para may proof ka na binilin mo yung pera sa kanya. Lalo na, kahit sa notebook, dear, wag kang magsasabi na binigay mo lang doon.
Yes, correct.
Kasi, sorry, Chris. Yes,
Go ahead, Chris.
Yes. Yeah, it's this, I think you're going to say the same thing.
Kasi, yun nga, yung second question nga doon, paano pagka walang semblance of ano ba tawag dito, turnover. So tama ka doon. Papirmahin mo sa sa notebook and the instructions kasi may or may not be rewritten. It can be verbal. Even that verbal can also be extended to that person. Pero ang tanong kasi diyan, sino yung unang may NTE? Ikaw eh. And then the second NTE is to the person who went on AWOL. In fact, yung taong nag-AWOL, hindi mo siya mahahabol sa funds. Mahahabol mo lang sa kanya is AWOL kasi wala siya. So hindi mo siya mahahabol. Doon pag bumalik na siya, doon mo pa siya mahahabol doon sa liquidation. Doon man sa Christmas 13th month pay mo na lang siya bawiin.
Papadeduct ka talaga.
Kung yung amount na yon is enough to cover for the petty cash. Pagka hindi, pagka negative, sobra, kulang pa, yung kulang na yun, sa'yo madededuct.
Kaya nga
kasi petty cash po siya eh.
Madaming mga petty cash, yung mga admin assistant na nag-request ng petty cash, sinasabihan ko, pag magti-turn over kayo ng pera sa, di ba, budget, di ba, pinabili nyo kay manong janitor, kailangan pasignan nyo si manong janitor.
Totoo yun.
Tapos pag nag-liquidate
Receive the
kayo,
amount.
yeah, tapos pag nag-liquidate kayo, kailangan may mga ano kayo, may mga kayong ganung protection sa sarili nyo. Tapos ano to, nag-entrust din sa kanya ng personal money from her colleague para pambayad din for something and then nag-awol. Is that considered as theft? So, personal money ng isang colleague in-entrust sa kanya, sinama dun sa pagka-awol niya.
Ano ba yung pambili ba ng milk tea yun? Kasi pambili ng milk tea yun, even if this theft, pabayaan mo na. Pag mo lang habulin, unless kung pinabibili mo, bahay
Worth
at
it
lupa.
ba? Worth it ba na habulin? Hindi, kasi actually dalawa to. Okay, I think, pwede kang mag-report. Kasi ganito yon. Behaviorally, may problema talaga yung tao sa pera.
Pera.
Okay, kaya lang nag-awol na siya.
Oo. Wala na.
Wala. So, magfa-file ka lang kayo ng complaint sa HR na ito yung ginawa sa inyo. Pero personal money yan. Wala nang
Oo.
kinalaman ng HR dyan.
Correct. Kung gusto niyang habulin kasi malaki yung halaga, pwede niyang ipablatter siguro sa barangay kung saan located yung business. Okay, barangay kung saan located yung business. Kung nasa Ortigas kayo, anong Ortigas ba? Ortigas Mandaluyong o Ortigas Quezon City? O pagka nasa, punta doon yung barangay, that's personal ano.
Pero iba kasi to sa yung cellphone nilakaw sa kasi
Sa loob ng opisina yun eh.
iba yun,
Theft
okay.
yun eh.
Pero yung ito, parang umutang siya. So, 'di ba? Parang personal money. Yun ang treatment ko diyan eh. Parang wala na, wag yun hindi yan kasakop ng HR. Ngayon kung ikaw, yung money na ni-request mo sa sa treasury, okay, kung natangay yon, ikaw ngayon ang madididaktan doon. Ikaw ang may responsibility
Yes,
doon. Unless you can show proof that you turned over to that person.
Alam mo Chris, just to share with you and to add context to the discussion, ka-HR head ka, or head ka ng isang functional group, lahat ng computer dyan at printer, kasama na rin yung UPS, nakapangalan sa'yo. O lahat yan, nakapangalan. Kaya yearly, dapat you have initiate mismo liquidation or inventory of all the assigned units sa'yo. Kasi may isang unit dyan most likely obsolete. O halimbawa, dot matrix. Ang gumagamit lang naman ng dot matrix yung nasa treasury, di ba? Nasa cashier. Kasi kailangan nila lang gumawa ng resibo. Sa HR, ka gumagawa ng resibo. So yung dot matrix, baka na-obsolete na yon at ginawa ng staff nyo sa HR is itinapon o kaya tinago. Pero mind you, yung obsolete na yon kahit 10 years ago pa yan, nakapangalan pa rin sa'yo yan. Kaya dapat yearly, ikaw mag-i-initiate ng request sa audit team na magpapa-audit ka ng inventory mo kung ano yung mga naka-assign sa'yo. Para pagka nag-resign ka o kaya nag-retire ka, hindi ka habulin ni management. Ba't ang daming deduction dito? Hinahabol ka ni management sa dot matrix na nawala 1994. Wala ka pa naman 1994.
That's true. Diba? Yung mga kasi, kaya ang ginagawa, first is, okay, yung equipment, ikaw yung unit head. Ikaw ang responsible dyan. Okay, so, kaya lang, kailangan mo talaga mag-schedule ng auditing ng equipment mo. Kasi may nangyari sa isang TV station nagtatrabaho ako, may isang hindi ginagamit na computer doon. Alam mo ba yung in-audit doon? Wala na talaga siyang natirang pyesa. Parang unti-unting kinakarne pa. Kaya kami tawa ng tawa.
Tapos kahala pa lang yung nakaganon, box na lang.
Kahala lang yung nandoon. Mabuti na lang, talagang ni-rule out na hindi ko responsibility, hindi ko accountability yun. Pero actually, yung kasi ako yung nasa admin, kasi supervisor pa ako noon. Na blessing I went through yung fire. Kasi naging admin and personnel ako. Tapos yung sa department na yun, yung nag-turn over, yung kasi nagkaroon ng change management, nagkaroon ng due diligence. Biro mo, pati yung equipment na hindi pa ako gumagraduate, nakapangalan sa akin. Talagang nag-ballistic talaga ako. Alam nyo ba na yung year na to, nasa college pa ako?
Pero yung tagal-tagal na nun, college ka pa.
Ay, kasi nagkaroon ng change management mga
Oh,
2003, okay?
oh,
So, nag-due diligence sila. So, lahat nung nandoon, equipment, basta nasa nila, hindi sila nag-update, hindi sila nag-audit, okay? So, meron silang charge sa account ko na
oh.
isip 1990,
Mm,
1994,
mm.
mga ganon. Eh, gumraduate ako 1995. So parang
Oh,
pagkakita ko nung ganun, ballistic talaga ako. Talagang sulat talaga ako. Hindi nyo ba alam I graduated 1995? Tapos I was hired 2001. Okay, bakit wala before 2001 ko naka-charge sa akin? What a preposterous inventor.
Chris, to add to that, Chris, yung
Uh,
isa pa namang yung mangiyak-ngiyak yung nursing manager namin, nurse station manager sa isang
uh,
hospital.
uh.
Kasi nag-inventory. Kami at, sir, taon-taon na lang po to. Itong finance, sinisigil sa akin yung incubator. Eh, yung incubator, nasa sa department ko. 14 years old ba ako? 14 years old. Sabi niya, neneng-nene pa ako nung namumukol.
Hindi naman, di ba?
Namumukol pa ako nung sir. 14 years old, neneng-nene pa ako. Uy,
Oo.
mangiyak-ngiyak siya sa akin.
Hindi
Sir,
kaya,
taon-taon na po to, sir.
di ba mahilig silang, tapos yung nag-resign ako, talagang kaya, learning from that experience, every year, nag inventory talaga ako ng equipment. Kaya
Oh.
lang, yung time na yon nag-transfer kami sa isang room from the second floor, pumunta kami sa third floor. Tapos nag-rule na nga na hindi ko na, kasi talagang nilaban ko yun na, yung mga yan, hindi ko nasakop yan. Kasi hindi, kasi parang, 'di ba, meron namang IT, may IT department naman kasi that does the maintenance of all those things. So ako bilang admin manager, kasi na-promote na ako admin manager, hindi ko nasakop 'yan kasi iba na yung akin, 'di ba? Kasi yun nga, kasi yung isipin mo, hindi pa ako gumagraduate nung panahon na yun, i-charge sa
Biruin mo yan, ano? Tapos,
siguro
taon-taon
maririnig
na.
tayo. Baka marinig tayo. Sana marinig tayo nung nag-charge sa akin noon.
Naku,
Kasi tandang-tanda ko yun kasi talagang uminit talaga yung ulo ko. Tapos talagang hindi naman ako nanigaw. Ang ginawa ko lang, sumulat talaga ako ng reply. Oo.
wala, ako naman, Chris, the only reason I mentioned that earlier, kasi it's also part of employee discipline in terms of mga NTE, notice to explain. Being in HR head, being the HR head for quite some time now, parating yung kagad, ako, nasunog na rin ako dyan eh. Kaya yan yung unang tinatanong ko pag nag-uumpisa ako ng work. I
Mm.
would like to have an inventory of all the equipment under my function.
Mm-mm.
Para mabilang ko, ako mismo personal, bibilangin ko yan. Kasi, biro yung may makaka-receive ka ng NTE, notice to explain, from audit, papa-explain sa yung item na hindi mo dot matrix. Magkano ba yung dot matrix? Bibili ako.
5,000 na lang ang dot matrix ngayon kasi may dot
Oh,
matrix
piruin mo
kami,
yun.
binibenta nga namin, 5,000 lang yun. Wala namang. Tsaka kasi parang ita-timing pa ng audit na merong kayong meeting, bilang may iha-hand na
Notice
Nako.
to explain. Nako, in 72 hours, naloko ba kayo?
Tapos makikita mo yung date 10 years ago. What?
Pero ang ginawa ko, Chris, yung latest na a very large hospital. So yung sinagot ko naman doon to help out yung nurse station manager. Sabi ko, ang may problema dito is yung in charge ng inventory.
Mm-mm.
Bakit hindi nila nara-write off?
Oo, write off dapat yun.
Supposedly, write off yun, obsolescence na natin yan eh. Obsolete na yan, wala na dapat sa financial statement yung mga yan. Di ba?
Paperweight na lang yun eh.
Oh,
Parang
paper.
incubator.
Biruin mo yun.
Ang ano. Ano kaya
Sabi ko,
itsura ng incubator?
yung incubator ng baby na, siguro may yung makaluma, yung may ilaw pag bumbilya,
Hinako,
gano'n. Yung parang
maluluto
pagsisiw.
pa.
Sabi ko,
Maluluto pa
oh,
yung baby dun.
sabi ko, ano ba naman yan? Ano na yan, nira-write off natin. Kasi tag 5 years lang yung lifespan yan eh. Those are as good as a laptop. Laptop now is 3 years.
Yes.
Desktop is 3 years. So, pag abutan ng 3 years yan, dapat write off na yan. Ibang equipment naman yung iaano sa'yo.
But that's the difference kasi in smaller organizations. That's yung HR kasi HR/admin. So, pag HR/admin ka, you'll always be busy kasi if you don't have any people issues, you have yung mga non-living issues. Okay, you have to you have to think about you have to think about yung mga inventory, okay, auditing of yung mga equipment. Dapat siya and kailangan siya, periodic siya. Kasi yun nga, magyayari sa inyo, pag inventory niya yung CPU, shell na lang pala yun, wala na palang laman. Tapos hindi mo pa nagtuturuan pa lahat nung malapit doon kung kung scene, 'di ba? Tapos parang hindi mo naman mahahabol sa CCTV 'yon kasi actually
Correct.
there are certain angles na hindi na nahahabol sa CCTV. Tsaka the more crafty employees, alam nila yung mga angles na yan.
Yes, totoo yan.
Oh. So you have to in GIS kasi employee discipline. So umabot tayo sa TEF kasi these are usually hindi naman napapag-usapan to. But the moral of the story is I think even with admin and finance, you have to work out a series of procedures, okay? When to determine when TEF was happening.
Correct. It's true.
So it's not an island. Okay. So anyway, so HR, okay, I think I would suggest that you review sa akin kasi ang code of conduct, it need not be kasi may mga code of conduct akong nakita, napakahaba, napaka-detailed. Meron naman, it's just like mga 15 offenses, okay? But whatever it is, okay, it has to be clear kung ano yung mangyayari, kung ito yung mga scenarios, okay? Like, and especially theft, you have to have a series of procedures kasi that's like dismissible. Yun.
Totoo.
Tumatawa lang kami ni Oliver dito kasi naalala namin yung admin. Kasi talagang tina-timing pa nila na masakit ang ulo mo tapos bibigyan ka ng NTE na gano'n.
Kasi mga equipment na hinahanap, mga obsolete na.
Tapos i-charge pa sa'yo. Meron ka bang value yun?
Yung mga tanong pa ba dyan, Chris?
Okay, so from Mr. June, well, Miss Lee Martin Manalaysay actually just resonated with my experience. Okay, so her first termination case was when she became HR head, and it was during her birthday. So it was very traumatic for her. Okay, and then Mr. June Espacio, I discourage employees to make utos to other employees, most especially to buy something outside of the company. Okay, so yung inuutos or nakikipake.
Totoo yan.
Also, wag din kayong makipaki ng lunch palagi. Yung dati kasi, di ba, yung janitor, kawawang-kawawa, lahat ng tao nakakain na pa yung lunchtime. Siya hindi pa rin nakakakain.
Di Chris, meron pa niyan. Meron, kung wala si Kuya Janitor, si Inday Intern.
Ay, oo.
Inday Intern, si Dodong Intern. Yun. To, bili ka muna sa labas to.
Oo.
Yun ang ginagawa natin eh. Hindi talaga dapat yun.
Ako nga, alam mo, ako yung head ng HR, hindi ako nakikipabili. Ako yung bumibili.
Yes.
Oo. Maglakad ka, exercise din yun. I mean, that was like during the time na, may nasa office pa. Okay? So, wag kayong, utos ng utos, di ba?
And tama rin naman yung paglabas mo, it's not only the exercise you're going to get, but actually you're going to have time to chat with other employees during their off time. Kasi
Yes.
mas lax sila outside of the organization, outside of the office. You can see them laughing. You can hear them laugh. Di ba? You can hear them
Oh,
talk. Oh,
informal chat and then also
mm,
develop rapport with them.
yes, correct.
No. Hindi lang naman tayo puro discipline. We have a lot of things to offer the
Mm,
organization. Nagkakaroon lang ng focus on employee discipline because
mm,
there are some ambiguities kasi,
mm,
especially with the higher offenses. Yun. But
totoo.
ako kasi, I would like to ask you, Oliver, what are your best, so in like a few bullet points, what are your best practices in employee discipline through the
Ah,
years?
well, well, first and foremost, I try to differentiate capability issue against conduct issue. O kapag capability issue, then I come in as a performance coach. Papasok ako, and when you come in as a performance coach, it's best if there are also other employees who can hear you, or who can, other team members, para they can also pick up what you're trying to coach. For example, the use of Excel. Kasi ako, I'm not really an Excel person, but I
Mm,
know a little bit of this and that. And that is something that I'd like to teach to everyone. So whenever I do performance coaching, and I take it back to a point that I have to do that on a regular basis, doon ako sa desktop mismo nung associate. That's when I do coaching.
mm,
Kasi pag nasa work environment ka, nasa within the compounds of your work, lahat ng sinasabi mo has something to do with work.
mm,
Tapos ikaw rin mismo nagiging maingat ka. Naging maingat ka na yung sasabihin mo sa kanya should be something to do to improve his work.
mm,
Tapos hindi ka rin nagagalit kasi a lot of people can hear you, so you get to modulate your voice, your demeanor, you become more friendly. So
mm,
maganda pag sineseparate mo yung capability against conduct. Yung conduct naman, you have to discuss that offline. Ako, I prefer discussing it over coffee outside. Minsan over a bucket of beer.
mhm,
Depende sa pleasure ng tao. Depende kapag halimbawa, married with kids. Male married with kids, so siguro coffee. Kapag ka binata, then maybe you can extend a little more time. Kapag ka married with kids and always in a hurry to go home, then I try to find time in between working hours. But what I'm trying to say here is that when it's a conduct issue, best to do coaching in a closed door. Tapos kayo lang
mm.
dalawa. And it's always best to do that after lunch.
Yeah.
Wag kang magkakandak try to do coaching on conduct issues before lunch. Wag before lunch or kahit anong
Hungry.
kanina. Oo, hindi yan nakikinig, walang tapos ikaw rin gutom ka na, galit ka na. Gutom ka na pala. So do that after lunch. So separate those first. Then second, when you administer penalties, always remember that you're coming from the foresight of discipline and not on the foresight of punishment. Kaya when you administer or when you weigh the corresponding penalty to the omitted offense, try to exercise compassion. Be more compassionate when you try to weigh and decide on a penalty. Kasi isipin mo, itong taong to, kahit na ganyan yung pag-uugali niya, may mga bata at pamilyang umaasa sa kanya yan. Si kasambahay, umaasa rin sa kanya yan. Doon
Mm,
kumakain, doon siniswelduhan. So maraming umaasa sa kanya. He may not be the padre de familia, but still, no, there's a whole lot of people looking up to him. So second to that reason is because may mga tao rin na nakatingin sa inyo, nanonood sa iyo kung anong klaseng leader ka, anong klaseng manager ka. You may be coming from HR, you may not be coming from HR, you may be coming from the ops, but people in your subordinates will always look up to you and observe you how you are as a leader. That's to add context. Very recently, one of my best friends in Cebu, no, hindi niya tao yung naalanganin, but he came to the rescue of that person. Hindi niya under ng department niya. Talagang tinulungan niya, sinakay niya sa everybody in that department were looking up to him and had initially made request to transfer to his department.
mm,
Kasi nakita yung leadership niya na pagka ito yung boss ko, pag nangailangan ako, tutulungan ako. Hindi naman siya nagpautang, no? Pero tumakbo siya, pinuntahan niya yung nangangailangan. So what I'm trying to say is that the compassion is not only limited to the how you extend help, but also to administering of punishment of the penalty. Oh, sorry, not punishment but penalty. So exercise compassion. That's second. Third, always reflect back on the things that you do on a daily basis. Kasi wala namang perfectong tao eh. I myself is not perfect. I always reflect on a daily basis before I go to bed. The things that I have done today, and the things that I have done weeks ago, and the things that I plan to do tomorrow. Because you need to have that vision or the image of the version of yourself 10 years from now.
Mhm.
And you have to chase it every day. You need to be that better person. Di ba? And the only way for you to do that is to reflect on the things that you do. So keep the good ones and throw away the bad ones. Di ba? Wala namang it's a continuing process. Tawag namin sa isang fraternity na pinasukan ko, it's a progressive moral science. So you have to continually evolve and continually improve yourself, regardless of the level of educational attainment, regardless of your experience. You have to consider yourself in the process of a progressive moral science.
Wow, very good.
So that's
So, if you can live with your decisions and you can still sleep peacefully, then you must be doing the right thing. Ganun lang yon. Kasi ako, I just have to correct you. Kasi pag babae yung boss, I cannot invite my subordinate na male outside. Baka ako yung ma-sexual harassment.
Coffee shop na lang. The nearest coffee shop. Yun na lang siguro.
Hindi,
Nako.
kasi
Delikado, tama, no? Maganda ka pa naman. Nako. Baka sabihin na,
thank you,
si ma'am, nagkakakas sa akin.
Kaya pala si
Baka iba yung
mama
isipin.
lagkit ang tingin sa akin. Hindi kasi, kasi yung husband ko, yan yung style niya. Ang sinasabi ko naman sa kanya, okay, yan ang style mo. Ako naman, ang I prefer kasi to talk. Still private, pero I still call, meron kasing kami dati conference room. So, invite ko lang siya dun sa conference room. Still, siya, very casual. Kamusta, ganyan. Tapos para mag-lunch tayo sa conference room, mag-usap tayo. Ganon lang ako. Pero kasi sabi ko sa asawa ko, pag ginawa ko 'yan, baka ako yung mas sexual harassment. Kaya tawa siya ng tawa sa akin. Kaya niloloko niya ako eh. Sexual harassment time na ba? Yun. Pero joke lang yun sa amin. Oo. Ito sabi ni Mr. June Espacio, ladies drink daw ako, hindi bucket of beer. Actually, I don't drink kasi, first is, I'm trying to maintain my calories. Yan ang Hindi, I don't drink anymore. Healthy living. But, what I like about our conversation and our webinar, over employee discipline. This is very relatable. And then this is actually about what's the rule, okay, and applying some analysis and common sense. Kasi may mga situations na, yun nga, pagdating ng higher offenses, hindi kadalasan to tinatakel. Pero kasi minsan dun lang tayo sa attendance issues. Pero madaming ambiguity kasi pagka higher offenses na. And then yun nga, kung magpapatawad di ba, yung company, mapapatawad niya yung tao, pwede naman. Diba? But kung hindi naman kailangan ipakulong, baka pwede naman din. Kasi baka naman, baka 10,000 lang yan, di ba? Tapos yung second, yung pinaka-last note ko, Oliver, yung mga HR, wag na tayong mag-vendetta. Kasi yung mga HR na nagbe-vendetta, like for example, yung character check. Kasi for me, I was going to add earlier on, sa akin, basta pagka-theft, tapos, kaya ako pinipilit kong matapos yung process para I'm not forced to talk about the case pagka nag-character check. Kasi pag tapos na, nabayaran na niya yon, na-deducta na siya, everyone can just, pursue their own lives na, di ba? So, kaya ako, pagka mga ganong cases, ang rule of thumb po, tapusin na lang natin para pagdating ng character reference check, wala kaming masasabing bad about this. And we will just be confidential to. We will not,
Mm.
we will not not talk about this na kasi natapos na naman yung yung investigation. And then na-punish ka na by deducting it sa final pay mo and
Mm.
inamin mo naman siya. So, tapos na yon. And then we
Mm.
can move on, and then outside of the office, we can be maybe friends, 'di ba? But
Correct.
in the office, we cannot be.
Mm.
Yun lang. So, Oliver, this was a nice Saturday chat, and I hope that our viewers were able to also clarify their own
Mm.
issues, even if they
Mm.
did not post it on our comment section. And
Mm.
thank you to those who participated in our discussion.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Ken. And
Yeah.
thank you, June Espacio, no? And who's
Yes.
the other one who asked questions?
Si
I think Lee
Lee
and
Martin, and then si Benjamin Taruncho, who actually complimented you earlier. And
the
then
one who resonated the birthday, yung may birthday.
that was Miss Lee Martin Manaloysa.
Oh, nako, kawawa naman, no? Pero anyhow, I'm sure it made you a different person with that experience. It made you a better HR. Okay, so good night, guys, and have a long week. Have a good weekend. Di pa tayo long weekend. Have a good weekend.
Okay, and good
Alright.
luck to your webinars, Oliver. And I know
Thank
you're
you.
still very active with Circa Logica. Okay, so
Yes.
more power to your webinars with them. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Pandemic, why don't you upskill in the comforts of your own home? Improve and add more certificates in your resume. Simple, direct, easy. Visit the playlist in our YouTube channel. Browse through our videos and choose the video that interests you. Send in your requests for a particular video and we will send back the certificate via email. Watch this full video for the details.